Your host, Parker, Dan, and Angela slice and dice their way through the good.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
The bad.
You brought the devil!
There's a devil inside our room.
And the ugly movies you love.
And you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it!
Hold your favorite films and franchises tight, because they aren't safe. In fact, it's already too late. It's time to dissect that film.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dissect That Film podcast, a podcast that dissects the good, the bad, and the ugly of cinema. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming. Today, we are going through movies of 1986, once again, and it is my pick, and I decided to pick a movie that meant a lot to me, but also the reason I picked this movie is because our guest today talked about it on one of his episodes on his show, and it got me all giddy and excited. So when we were doing this series and it was pick a film from 1986, that was the one I was picking. So we welcome Paul from the Flicks and Friends podcast to the show for the very first time.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here. First time caller, first time listener.
First time listener, yes.
Not a first time listener, but yeah, dude, I'm excited to be here. When you asked me to do anything animation, I'm always going to say yes. But this one in particular holds a fondness in my heart. So I was really, really excited to be asked to do this. So.
Yeah, and since I haven't said what movie we're covering, we are covering 1986's The Great Mouse Detective.
From Walt Disney Pictures, it's adventure.
We've not a moment to lose.
It's excitement.
Basil, look out!
And it's coming your way. It's the adventures of the Great Mouse Detective.
Smile, everyone.
He's Basil of Baker Street.
Amazing.
And he's teaming up with Toby, Dawson, and little Olivia to take on Ratigan, the world's biggest rat.
What did you call me? You're a slimy, contemptible sewer rat.
This spring, you're invited to join the fun with Walt Disney's classic, The Adventures of the Great Mouse Detective.
I thought this was Winnie the Pooh.
No, I'm Winnie the Pooh.
We need to cover Blood and Honey. He needs to come back with the exact same fucking outfit.
I already did.
I
already did.
I refuse. Me and Dustin have had me and Dustin have had this. I will not. Me and Dustin have had this conversation. That's the one that's on my veto list. That if he ever covers it, I will not be on the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, I have obviously. I don't know if it's clear. If I'm a little bit of a fan of Winnie the Pooh.
Bear.
Pooh
Bear, Winnie the Pooh Bear.
On my older podcast, we did our top 5 theme songs for cartoons, and that was on my top 5. So
that's a good one, because I was like the gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Literally just about to say that.
You can't see it, but this whole stack right here is nothing but complete series of animated shows, and Gummy Bears is up here somewhere.
Heck yeah.
For what it's worth, I just ate a bag of gummy bears tonight.
For what it's worth.
Haribo gummy bears are the best.
They're good. I actually like some of the ghetto gummy bears. They're pretty good.
I like the Dollar General.
The third world gummy bears. What were you saying, Paul?
I was like, yeah, the Dollar General ones. I like the Dollar General gummy bears. I think they slap. Dude.
Listen, if you partake of Food City brand, if you have a Food City here, like not just this is for anybody, it isn't just for the folks like in this shit.
It's only between here, Virginia. That's the only place that has Food Cities. It's only.
Well, hell, I don't. But there's listeners. There's other people that listen to this. So I'm talking about. Their gummy bears are very soft.
Sometimes,
like sometimes you get gummy bears, and they're like.
So like.
I ask myself that too sometimes. But anyway, no, just kidding. No, like, but we went to they're very soft, which is rare because most gummy bears I eat are at least a little chewy. But we went to, where did Ridley get those epic ones?
Most store gummy bears are very hard.
Yeah, but we went to a place in. Is it technically in Sevierville still, or is it Pigeon Forge?
Pigeon Forge.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there you go. But it's right there on the. I don't think you cross the bridge. Maybe you do. It's by the Walgreens. Anyway, there's the Apple Barn, and they have a candy shop where you can watch them make candy stuff. But they have these fucking awesome gummy bears. The best gummy bears I've ever had in my life.
I know a lot of people like the Black Forest ones. I think what they're called. They're like really
They're pretty good.
They're like, to me, they're like fruit snacks. So I'm not big.
Yeah. I need
Yeah,
Haribo's. Haribo is my jam.
Haribo's good.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
And they have the best fucking commercials too.
Yeah, they're all
talking like children.
Haribo's also the only gummy bear recognized by NATO. That's hence the third world gummy bear.
Exactly.
Anyway,
And a back around.
Yeah. We made it, folks. Anyway.
Yeah, so today we're talking about The Great Mouse Detective, which was released July 2nd, 1986, directed by many people. John Musker, Dave Michener.
Yep, that's right.
Ron Clements and Bernie Mattinson. It was written by 25 fucking people. No, I'm just kidding. It was written by a lot of people. Pete Young, Vance Gary, Steve Hullett, Ron Clements, John Musker, Bruce Morris, Matthew O'Callahan, Bernie Mattinson, Dave Michener, and Melvin Shaw. So a lot of writers on this one.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's technicality because of which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, technicality. They all wrote different drafts of this.
Yes. So. Yeah. That's when you see a lot of writers, that's usually why. This was based on the book series called Basil of Baker Street, which was actually the original title for the movie. But I guess the VP of the company at the time came in and changed the name. He was like, hey, we're going to call it, how about The Great Mouse Detective? To which someone anonymously, who later would out himself for doing it, wrote a memo for the company with like, hey, why don't we change all the names of all of our most popular properties? So like just what was some of them?
Little Mermaid was
like
one not Little Mermaid.
So Snow White was 7 Little Men Help a Girl.
Cinderella.
Dumbo. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Cinderella was the girl with the see-through slippers or something like that.
Yep, the see-through shoes.
Yeah.
There was Jungle Book was a boy, a bear, and a big black cat.
Yeah, that's
Dumbo.
true.
Dumbo is the wonderful elephant who could really fly, and Bambi was the little deer who grew up. But yeah, it was a big joke. And then the guy Peter Schneider, who was the guy that they were kind of fucking with, he pretty much was going around the company trying to find this person so he could fire him. Which it just turned into a big joke, and it actually turned into a category on Jeopardy, which was hilarious. So of course this follows right after the movie that we covered last month, The Black Cauldron, which was the movie that almost destroyed Disney animation, to which The Great Mouse Detective was the movie that kind of helped put Disney animation kind of back into a comfortable spot. It wasn't the tentpole that kind of bursted through the stratosphere as some of the releases later on, but it was the one that kind of was like, hey guys, we're still here. We still have a chance. Like we've got something.
They made a little money on this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
This wasn't even the #1 animated mouse movie of the year that year.
Nope.
American Tail beat this movie, but this was
no.
Yeah, but just barely. But it was. But this was people weren't flocking to the theater to see animation. I think these movies are like in the 20s for the year, like, which is crazy because of how much it changed in the last 2-3 decades.
I mean, at least this one lost to like another good animated movie.
Yeah,
like I think American Tail is a really good one.
Yeah.
But imagine being Black Cauldron in Disney and you got beat out by the Care Bears movie,
which is awful. The Care Bears movie is terrible.
So it's like, what are we doing here? I mean, that was literally the killing blow almost for Disney.
And it also helps that this movie is right when they transitioned to Michael Eisner and Katzenberg was there, and so this was it refueled like, oh, we can still make movies that are animated and make money. Also, it helps if we cut the budget in half and make you put it out a year earlier than we did. So but yeah.
So this had a budget of $14 million and it made $38.7 million. So pretty successful. It made double its budget. So that's usually the kind of this signifier that it's somewhat successful. It ran at an hour and 14 minutes. This movie flies.
Yes.
Like it's short and sweet. That's the thing about this movie. It's not a super intricate plot. Like it's a Sherlock Holmes story.
Mhm.
So it's just Basil is just solving a case. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. It's like that's what this movie is. It's not, it's not like the Black Cauldron where it's like different places that this character's going, fighting different things, doing all this. No, it's Basil versus Ratigan, and he's got his little sidekicks. Ratigan's got his little goons. They're paths intertwine, they fight, and that's the end of the movie. That's what this movie is. But it's just so good. It's just so well done. And I love the animation of this movie. I love the idea of this movie. I love that it's literally just Sherlock Holmes, but it's a mouse. And he lives on the same street as Sherlock Holmes. He lives under Sherlock Holmes. He does the same things as Sherlock Holmes, playing the violin, and all that. Basil himself is named after a Sherlock Holmes actor from the 40s, Basil Rathbone, who actually would return to do the voice of the Sherlock Holmes in this movie, which is awesome.
It's from audio excerpts because he had passed away in 1967.
Oh, okay.
They recycled.
I did see that. So that
I looked it up too because I actually knew who that was before this because my grandmother is really big into murder mysteries, so she'd watch the old Sherlock, Basil Rathbone and the old Agatha Christie stuff. What's his name? Poirot or whatever.
Inspector Poirot.
Bro, that's it. Yeah, she watched that. My grandma loved that stuff, so I used to see it sometimes growing up. So.
Yeah, so the cast for this movie, we have Barry Ingham Ingham as Basil of Baker Street and as the voice of the drunken mouse Bartholomew, which if you go on IMDb, this actor is only, it only says Bartholomew under his name. You don't know. Like, I was like, I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, who the fuck is the voice of Basil?
Until you click on all cast and then it pulls it up. Because I did that last night. I was like, wait a minute.
Fix
Where'd
it.
it go?
Fix it, IMDb. Step your shit up.
IMDb is trash now. Like, it's so bad.
It really is. Yet that's where we get the majority of our information.
That's where I go.
Yay!
I mean, it's got the most pool of information that you can get from
it.
movies.
Really does.
It's just because now they allow users to put trivia.
I know.
That's the problem.
Which
I know.
is
It's like it's
stupid.
as reliable
It's
as
like
Wikipedia,
Wikipedia.
which is another source.
There you go.
Yeah, I use Wikipedia just because it's easier to use. But
Oh, absolutely, it's formatted better. We have Val Betton as Dawson.
do you know where else
He is
from?
also the voice.
Sorry,
What did I?
the Sultan.
No. Yes, he's not in the original Aladdin though. From what I looked up, he was only the voice of the Sultan from the second one on.
For Return of Jafar and on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me verify that real quick.
The King of
look at-
Thieves.
Yeah, it says
Oh,
his
okay.
voice was first used for the Sultan in '94 for the Return of Jafar, and he's been
Yeah.
the Sultan for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I
6
got so
different
excited.
things. So
Because
yeah,
I saw Aladdin, but that's the TV show.
that's what I saw. So I'm guessing either the original actor died
Let's find out.
or he didn't,
What is
or
it?
he just didn't come back.
Well, he also did. We talk about. His
Oh,
other-
he did.
his-
He was Professor Porter in Tarzan.
Yes.
He just didn't come back. He didn't die till 99.
Okay. I figured it's either or. It's usually those are your only two
Pretty much.
feasible options.
Got a
Either they
50-50
died
chance.
or they're like, nah, I don't want to come back.
I'm good.
He also did a voice of one of Ratigan's thugs. We have Suzanne Palachek as Olivia Flaversham. She was, I think, 7 when she recorded her audio for this movie. So, and from looking at her IMDb, she didn't really do a lot. I think this was one of her biggest roles. I mean, she was a child actor at the time, so I mean, it could have just been a one-time thing for her.
Yeah, that's all she's credited for.
It does happen from time
She's
to time.
fantastic, though.
She does.
Her voice is adorable.
Absolutely.
Candy Candido as Fidget. We have Alan Young as Mr. Flaversham, who also was the voice of Scrooge McDuck.
Fuck
in
yes,
Mickey's
dude.
Christmas Carol.
He was Scrooge all the way up until he died, which was a couple years ago. It was fairly recently.
Yep. He was all the Scrooges.
He was all the Scrooge. Well, except for the reboot of
David Tennant.
DuckTales,
David
which was David Tennant.
Oh, that's
I
right.
think he was in bad health at that time too, though. So Alan Young was.
Yeah. We have Diana Chesney as Mrs. Judson, who was the name of the housekeeper, which I don't remember hearing her name, but I guess that was what it was.
Yeah, she says it for Basil's housekeeper, right?
Yes.
He says it one time. It's when he's like shoving her into the other room, like to get the cheese crumpets. It's during that whole interaction.
Oh, I must have missed it where he actually said her name. Eve Brenner as the Queen. We have, as Dan said, it's recordings of Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, it even says archive sound in the credits. So.
We have Laurie Main as the voice of Dr. Watson in that same scene. They were going to try to use voice samples of the Watson that was in the same, who acted with Rathbone in those Sherlock Holmes movies, but I guess they couldn't get like good enough recordings to do it. He died in 1953. And another person I wanted to shout out was Wayne Allwine, who was one of the many voices of Mickey. He was one of the thugs.
He was
really
Mickey for almost 30 years. So this is just it has a little bit off topic, but since we're talking about Wayne Allwine, so his wife was Minnie Mouse, and they met while recording, fell in love, and got married. And she passed away a year or two ago. He died in 99. Wayne Allwine died in 99. So he's been dead for a while. And it's been like 4 or 5 Mickeys since then. But she was Minnie all the way up until...
He died in 2009.
2009. Okay, I knew it was a 9 at the end of it. But like, but she passed away, I want to say a couple of years ago. But her last performance was those Mickey shorts they do on Disney Plus, the ones that are like really goofy and like almost Looney Tunes.
Oh, like that new animation style that they were doing? That kind of looks like the retro,
exactly,
like look.
And the last one she did, it was a love piece where it was with her and Mickey, and they sang a song together, and it was about being in love, and that was the last thing she recorded before she passed away. But Minnie and Mickey were a real life couple for like 30 something years,
and they died almost 10 years apart. Oh, to the month.
God, let's make this show sad. Why don't we?
Hey, he started it.
I thought it was sweet that Minnie and Mickey were really, really together.
That is sweet.
Yep. Oh, man. So from what I remember from the Waking Sleeping Beauty documentary was the fact that this idea had been a thing since The Rescuers, and one of the directors that we talked about during the Black Cauldron episode was actually attached to this movie, but he ended up getting fired after the Black Cauldron.
Rip.
So they ended up having to primarily the two primary directors of this movie was John Musker and Ron Clements, who would go on to direct some of the most iconic Disney movies in its history. The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and also Moana.
Treasure Planet.
I have to shout out Moana. Treasure Planet. Okay.
So,
Treasure Planet.
Wait, hold on. What?
Treasure Planet. So
Dude, I fucking love that movie.
So that was their love child. They wanted for years and years and years and years to do Treasure Planet. They kept pitching it. And then finally their success allowed them to make it. And it was literally one of the biggest animation box office flops ever, but like it was a very expensive movie and it made no money. But I love that movie. I think it's a ton of fun. But
I haven't seen it in forever, but I like it. It reminds me, it's like I knew it was after, but it reminds me like aesthetically a little bit of Titan AE for some reason.
It definitely does. Yeah, I see that.
Which is also not a bad movie.
No, underrated.
But
yeah.
Yes.
The music was done by Henry Mancini, who would score some pretty iconic stuff. Ghost Dad starring Bill
Oh.
Cosby.
I just drop it now.
I'm sorry. Jesus. No, but he would come up with the theme for the iconic theme to the Pink Panther.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
which is of course like one of the most iconic like films like themes, and then it would be a TV theme. He did Ripley's Believe It or Not, the original theme to that show. Remember? Oh my gosh, so good. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Ghost Dad was a poor joke. I apologize for
that. Dude. I think it's great.
Oh man. So Paul, do you have any behind the scenes stuff you want to add before we jump into the plot of this?
As far as behind the scenes, I don't know if anyone's read the books, but in the books, if I remember correctly, Ratigan is not a rat. He's just a large mouse. He's a large mouse, I believe, that has changed for this. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong.
Him a rat.
Sorry, yeah, he's world's greatest criminal mind. Sorry, but other than that, this it's been forever since I've actually read the book, but it's pretty spot on. But as far as behind the scenes, I think you covered a lot of the good stuff. But the biggest thing is this movie was supposed to come out a year after it actually released, but the pressure to put a movie out and make money caused them to release it earlier. So they cut the budget in half, which is also another reason why this movie is so short. The fact that they got an hour and 20-minute movie made in less than a year, drawing hand-drawn films, is incredible, and to have it look this good is very, very impressive. I think that's the biggest thing is this movie, and that's also why. So it had 4 directors technically. It really only had 2. So one was exited after they changed the dates, and it was Clements and Michener who were, I'm pretty sure I might be in Musker backwards, but it's one of the other, those two, was Michener and one of those two were the directors, but because of the pace and they need to get this movie out, they added the other. So it ended up with 3 full-time directors. And I don't know if y'all probably do know what the animation process goes, but you have individual animators. The way Disney does it for every individual character. So which allows them to put out these massive movies in a shorter amount of time. So
it also keeps consistency on the character.
Exactly.
Too.
Character model is very important. This is why Disney has always stressed that. So, and a lot of the animators on this movie went on to make all your iconic Disney movies, like to do major characters and Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. Not so much Rescuers Down Under. That's another complicated story that you guys might cover on a different day, which is another movie that almost bankrupted them because they tried to do CGI on it, but that's a whole nother.
Oh yeah. They did the digital touch up at the end. It was like a post computer, like did the coloring.
So they went through a whole brand new animation process that was computer animated. And it was experimental at the time, and you can tell they use it in the movie with all the eagles and everything, but it was so expensive that it almost ruined them as well. But
yeah, they talk about it very briefly in that documentary we watched.
Yeah, there's a reason it's made by Disney, and they don't want to cover too much of their failure, so that's why they kind of gloss. Yeah. They gloss.
Only one big failure for this movie, and then we'll go up from there. Exactly. No more.
But yeah. That's the biggest thing about behind the scenes. This is the rush to get this out to sweep Black Cauldron under the rug and kind of get back get back in the black, which this movie did. Without this movie, we don't get the Disney Renaissance. That's why to me this movie deserves more credit than it gets. All the hard work that the animators and directors did to get this movie out when they got it out, as quick as they got it out, with the quality they got it out, and it saved Disney. This movie single-handedly saved Disney's animation department.
All right.
And that's all I got to say about that.
No, it won't be. You'll have more. Let us get to it.
All right, Dan, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you ready? Is everybody ready? Paul has no idea what the fuck's going on.
So I listened to Silver Bullet. So
okay, he knows what's coming up.
I'm gonna get it right.
All right, here we go. It's never gonna be right. Here we go. Right. And now it is time to dissect that film.
Yeah. I wasn't going off this time. I'm just kidding.
So this movie starts with a little date. It is 1897 in London, and we are going to Flavisham Toys, where a little girl named Olivia is hanging out with her dad, cool toy maker, as he makes some of the most advanced toys I've ever seen that would come out in the late 1800s. The toy he gives her is so intricate. I'm like, how the fuck did you make this in 1897?
Well, he's a genius inventor. Because of cartoons. Because of cartoons.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yes. Oh, because animation, you could do whatever the fuck you want, no matter what time it is.
That ain't no kidding.
I love that we have a problem with that, but not the fact that we're watching a movie about talking mice.
Nope. Listen,
No,
Paul, that's the
all
name of
the
this
level.
show, okay? We're going to point out everything that doesn't make any sense, even if we love the movie, okay?
Fuck yeah.
No, I just remember watching. I mean, like I said, I've seen this a million times, but it makes me laugh every time he shows her that awesome fucking ballerina toy. Because you're like, that is so advanced. Like, just how it, like, I don't even know if they can make a toy like that now that would look that good.
No.
And how it moves and everything, it's
Yeah.
way too fluid.
Like, does he have some reanimator serum or something? He's just jamming into toys and coming to life, or the puppet master serum.
See, Sarah's wouldn't have watched this with us either.
Why?
Because she told us, she's 8, told us when we watched the Great Mouse, or not the Black Cauldron, she's like, I don't watch cartoons.
Cartoons are for children.
She's
like,
too good
"Excuse
for
me."
it. Like, I'm sorry.
No, dude, because we've been watching so much horror, she's just been into it. She's just like hardcore into it.
But she doesn't watch that either.
What were we watching that she was like, while she was eating? She was trying to eat. It was something really scary we were watching.
The last thing I remember watching was Silver Bullet.
No, we were watching the new Winnie the Pooh trailer.
Oh, the trailer, yeah.
And she's like,
Blood and Bitches too, whatever it is.
trying to eat. And I was like, you'll watch that, but you won't watch cartoons?
I'm gonna edit a new post. I'm gonna edit the poster for that movie. It's Blood and Bitches too.
Please, Dissect That Film presents Winnie the Pooh.
Hey, I did.
Blood and Bitches too.
I did do a reaction video on that trailer, so check that out.
Yeah, please do.
On our
And
YouTube.
some other stuff. He's done some other stuff.
Yeah, I did.
Go
I
watch
did a
that
bunch
too.
of.
Yeah, put that in your
mediocre
mouth
shit.
too. You'll
It's
like
fine.
it.
Go listen or watch.
It's a little salty, but you'll get over it.
Yeah. We also then meet the peg-legged bat named Fidget, who I love his voice. It's so good.
Okay, so I lied. There's more behind the scenes stuff. So, so Candy Candido, who did the voice for this, was a radio guy. Was what he's mostly famous for.
Yeah.
He's like of the vaudevillain area almost. But so when they recorded him for this vocal, they sped up his vocals. So that's why it's a little higher pitched. But there is one line that he yells in the movie that is Candy Candido's actual voice, but it's only one line. The rest of them is his voice pitched up. Like it's sped up. So that's how he gets that that higher pitch. That's why you can hear it too, because they recorded on tape. So when you record it on tape, you can hear the speed up because it sounds unnatural almost. The pitch does.
He was also in the previous movie that we got.
He was in what?
Is he Gurgi?
No, he was one of the Horn King's guards.
Okay, that makes sense too. Yep. Okay.
Dude, he was in fucking Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. Fuck that movie, all right? Anything that involves Frosty, fuck that show. Even that time John Goodman voiced him. I'm sorry.
Frosty Returns.
Hey. John
with a
Goodman
vengeance.
can do no wrong. Okay.
I like John Goodman, damn it. But I fucking hate God.
Just put with a vengeance at the end of anything.
Let there be snow. Dude, I forgot.
Oh. So yeah, so this peg-legged bat, he kidnaps Mr. Flavisham and leaves Olivia there. And then we get our awesome opening with the awesome theme song. I love the theme music to this movie. It gets stuck in my head every time I watch this damn movie, but it's just so good. Then we get a narration from our dear friend Dawson, who pretty much talks about how he served in the military. He mentions he was in Afghanistan. We get that a couple times. I always forget that that was a thing back then. That the British military was in Afghanistan.
All over the Middle East.
We just take turns. It's fine. They'll be back eventually too.
There's probably some sprinkled in there right now.
Yeah.
Probably.
And he finds Olivia in, like, she's crying inside of is she inside a boot?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she is looking for Basil of Baker Street. And he's like, well, I don't know who Basil is, but I do know where Baker Street is. So, and that's when you hear you hear the violin being played by a man in the window. You only see the silhouette. You never see Sherlock Holmes in this movie. It's always a shadow, which is fine because I feel like it would just be too distracting if you actually saw him in the movie. I like how it's kind of just showing like the parallels of our characters
without being 100% on the nose about it.
Right. Like if you know, like, to be honest, I don't know if when I saw this as a kid, I like put two and two together that was Sherlock Holmes, because I wasn't really into Sherlock Holmes at that time. I don't even think I was into Sherlock Holmes until the Robert Downey Jr. movies. So
those were good.
What is the animated TV show from the late 90s? Was it Sherlock Holmes in the 23rd century or whatever it was?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! I think I remember that. Was that on the WB?
It was on because we all live in different areas, but it was on C40 here because it was a syndicated show. Yeah, it's a pilot. It's a dumpster fire, but it's one of those one of those like random syndicated shows that like people are making super cheap to make money and sell it to local TV channels who didn't have cartoons. So
you mean like what was it? Mummies Alive?
Dude, don't talk shit about Mummies Alive.
Dude, that had a bomb ass intro, didn't it?
There you go. So Mummies Alive is part of Bobot Entertainment, which made Sonic, the Saturday morning cartoon one,
Which one?
The goofy one, not Sonic AM, that was on ABC. And then
it was the Sonic Tails one that was dumb.
Yeah, the
right?
one with the chicken and the mole robot. That's the one that Bobot made. And they also made like, do you remember Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys? They made that.
That doesn't ring a bell.
I've heard about that
Yeah,
one.
dude, that cast has like Maurice LaMarche, Jeff Bennett. It was like a bunch of famous voice actors in that show. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's not me this time.
I think what's pretty funny is that this movie kind of links up to young Sherlock Holmes, which was the live action movie that came out in '85. Because that movie was the first time that CGI was used in a film. And this was, I think, wasn't this the first animated film to utilize CGI?
Well,
like in that final scene.
Did Black Cauldron have CG?
Did it have CG or did it have
I'm pretty sure it did. That was why it was so expensive.
We probably did mention that.
But I think it was for a shot or two. We talked about it in the episode.
Yeah. But I know that this was like the biggest, the final scene of this movie, like inside the clock tower, is like it was like the longest segment of CGI that had been used in film. Because I think in the Black Cauldron, it was like only like little bits where you couldn't really tell because it was mostly just compositing. Where this is like full computer generated images, like for the inside of that clock tower,
so also,
with the hand drawn characters.
So I lied again. So with that scene was originally supposed to be just a fight scene on the face of the clock, and they decided to, because that was almost too boring in a sense, they decided to add the element that you're talking about with the gears and the fixtures, and you also see the transformation of Ratigan almost like a werewolf, which is also I was reading about this the other day. I didn't know, but so rats have 5 fingers and the mice have 4, so that's how you differentiate them. And it's the animation messes up in that transformation scene. You see Ratigan's hand and goes from 5 to one scene to 4 in his neck, then his other fingers go back to 5.
Huh. Okay, I didn't think about that.
I just assumed
they do
rats were like.
Well, they do.
They have different colored tails. They have fleshy tails. Rats have fleshier tails. But that was one of the distinguishing things, and it was like an animation error. So that one
fair.
I didn't know.
I owned fancy rats.
They hold things.
and their tails are
And
awesome.
they drink tea.
They hold things without. Yeah, they managed to do it all without thumbs, and I was like, "What the fuck do these?
Wow.
As long as they have,
Why do I have these?
as long as they have pinkies, that's all they need. You gotta have the pinky.
Yeah, got to keep that
send
shit.
down
That's what they
pinky
always
down.
do. Ironically, it's like a genetic anomaly where they always keep their pinky out. Remember, when in
Oh, so
doubt,
you're
pinky
right.
out.
I already said that.
That was from SpongeBob. Don't take this from
I said it. Too late.
So Olivia and Dawson, they make it to Basil's home, but he's not there. But his maid is there, and she brings them in. Is gonna, warm them up by the fire, get some food for them, and then Basil shows up. It pretty much ignores them because he is focused on doing an experiment. He goes through all these steps, going through everything. Olivia's trying to talk to him, asking him, to help her find her dad, and he's too preoccupied to the point where when he finally finishes, he's marking, trying to match up two bullets, and they don't match. They're off by just a little bit, and it just puts him out of. He's just becomes depressed, starts playing his violin, and because it was a way to connect. I guess something to Ratigan, because that is like his life's goal is to finally put Ratigan behind bars.
It's the Moriarty parallel, right? So,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
100%, yeah. Because even this movie, is legit just a Sherlock Holmes story with mice and rats. So we also get lines that are taken from Sherlock Holmes, like when I think Dawson figures something out, and it's like, "Oh, it's elementary, my dear Dawson," which is something Sherlock Holmes would say. And I love when he shoots the pillows and just the feathers go everywhere. And the maid comes out and she's just like, what the fuck? And she's like breathing it in and she's like, oh God.
I like when this makes me think of the meme where he hands Dawson the pillows and he's going to shoot them with a revolver. And then he like throws them onto the chair, which, anyway, I'm not going to get into that logic, even though that would be, this is what, 1897?
Yes.
That would be black powder. So it would have powdered up that room a good bit. Anywho, it makes me think of this meme online where two dudes got arrested in America for shooting each other to see if bulletproof vests work. Nobody got hurt, but they got arrested for it. And it's like, I'm sorry, I thought this was America. That's what I thought I was saying. By the way, this isn't America.
No,
This is England land. So that's
England
fine.
land.
The city of Great Britain.
The great.
Somebody's gonna get that reference.
Oh man. So of course, even with Basil in his depressive state, she mentions Fidget, which perks his interest because Fidget, of course, is attached to Ratigan, which is Basil's number one nemesis. Like, he is 100% just wanting to capture this guy.
He's an emotional one, isn't he?
Who, Basil?
Yeah, he really is, dude.
He's bipolar as shit.
Like when he's like bested, like he gets like just in the dumps.
Yeah.
Dude.
I mean, who knows how long he's been going after him?
Dude needs to go have some.
These guys are legit, just like they hate each other. And it's funny. He has a picture of him in his house, like,
yep,
like on his fireplace. Because Samantha was like, my nemesis. Isn't it? That's a great picture, isn't it? It's like,
I really like this. I really like this side of him. I think this is his good side. Yeah. I was like, so like when he goes to that we'll get to it later. That depressive session he goes into later when they're about to die. It makes me think of was it Addams Family when Gomez Addams is super depressed and he's just singing "Sweet Low, Sweet Chariot" laying in his bed.
Yes.
So then we jump over to what's Mr. Flaversham doing? And he is creating a robot for Ratigan. And we get to hear his beautiful voice, as I did not mention when we talked about the cast, because I wanted to save it for last, because it is the most iconic voice in this movie, and that is Vincent Price.
Yes.
And this was my introduction to Vincent Price. I did not know about Vincent Price other than the Thriller video. That was the only. Oh, and Edward Scissorhands, right? Yeah.
Oh.
And This was the movie that really
Never.
introduced me to then his work, House of Wax and House on Haunted Hill
The
and
Fly.
pretty much everything that he was, The Fly and all that. His voice just was perfect for this role though, and he loved it.
favorite role he
This
ever
was
did.
like, yeah, this was like a dream come true for him. He'd always wanted to voice an animated character. Paul was sending me pictures of like him on the red carpet with like the guy dressed as Ratigan. And he has the
He looks
biggest
like a
smile
big
on his
kid.
face.
But
You can always tell when an actress loves the role that they're in. And this is one of those that you can tell that he is having the time of his
Do you want to
life.
know why this is his favorite role? They wrote 2 songs for him. He got to sing. That's why he said it was his favorite role, because he got to sing.
And he does such
He
a good
really
job.
does. He really does. But that was why he was so excited. He got to see. He said he would not have done this role. He had to try out for this role. He auditioned for this role, and he said,
Oh, give it to him. I wouldn't
he
even.
wouldn't even thought twice though. He said if it wasn't Disney, he's like, all right, I'll do it for you guys. He goes, I'll audition for you guys.
Well, see, that's the thing is, and I don't know when his stuff was recorded for this, but he was also in another animated show before this, released before this. Unless it wasn't a movie though, so maybe that's what he meant, because he was in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo as Vincent Price, animated. Which is, by the way, a shitty introduction to that, because I think that was the first Vincent Price thing I've seen. I would have much rather had been this one.
I always found it funny that when they remade House on Haunted Hill, that they just Jeffrey Rush's character was just Vincent Price. Like they didn't even change his name. Like
Hello, Vincent Price.
Like, was Vincent Price's character in the original just himself? Like, was he just Vincent Price, or the filmmakers for that movie were just like, no, it'd just be a cool homage to Vincent Price? It's like, no, you're just using his name.
No, he was a character. He was an actual character in that movie.
No, I know.
Not like as himself, but yeah.
No, I know he was, but like the filmmakers for the remake when
because
Vincent Price was dead at the time that the remake came out.
No, I
but
mean
Jeffrey Rush played Vincent Price in that movie.
Yeah. But character's name was Vincent Price in the movie, right?
Yes.
That was not correct. In the original movie, it's a different character's name.
So it's like, okay.
I don't even remember his there you go.
Don't worry, that filmmaker would go on to make a movie called Fear.com.
Oof.
But yeah, Vincent Price's voice is perfect for this role. He just the way that he like accentuates words and just the way that they got him to move, the animation for the movement of Ratigan, it's so good, and his voice just fits it perfectly.
It inspired, though. The only downfall for me is like it inspired stunt casting for the next film, and because this movie, I mean, he's the only name from this movie, and really the only other big name in any of the Disney movies ever got was Gabor for Rescuers. So like until this, it was kind of like the only real big actor they got. Everyone else was like bit actors, character actors, voice actors traditionally. And then, obviously the next movie after this one Disney did, you had Billy Joel, Cheech Marin, Bette Midler. You had like, it was just a lot of which that's all Jeffrey Katzenberg. He thought that's what would sell the movie, and that they needed big name actors instead of just character actors, which they kind of went back to with the next few Disney Renaissance movies until you get to Lion King. But
yeah, because like Little Mermaid,
nobody
like that you could.
Aladdin had Rob Williams.
I would have known.
Aladdin had Rob Williams.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So he's building a robot for Ratigan. Because Ratigan has a plan to kidnap the queen, because he wants to pretty much become king, and he wants to be able to rule and do all his dastardly deeds. I love that Flaversham stands up for himself. Like he gets in Ratigan's face. He pretty much tells him he's not going to do it, but of course he threatens him by saying he's going to get his daughter, bring her there, and that kind of changes the tune, and it puts him back to work. I love the music they use every time they show this robot. Because it's always malfunctioning or doing weird shit. It's always got that same just that same little piece of music that they always use for it, where it's just like really fast It's like you're like, holy shit, and the thing's fucking flailing all around.
Just
It's
put a
so
knife
good.
in his hand.
Yes.
And just the lines that Ratigan says, you know, he goes outside and he says, I love it when I'm nasty.
He said, Mr. Ratigan, if you're nasty.
So he gives Fidget a list of things to get, which the list contains uniforms, the girl.
No, I don't have the girl.
What was what
gears.
was it? Gears, right?
Tools, I think, was
Tools,
also one
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, and he's like, you don't have the girl.
He erases it like, oh.
And this is when we get our musical number from Ratigan and his thugs, which is just so good. Dan, you want to give us a piece?
No, I'm good. I don't have the connection to memorize this song, so I don't think
The chorus
I can
is
do
the
it.
most memorable part.
I love the
Oh yeah, Ratigan.
I love the whole singing though. It reminds me a lot of Mary Poppins.
Very much so.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
very much so.
Yeah, it's very
And
classic Disney.
I kept my Mary Poppins shirt. I have it on.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, there you go.
I kept looking up the people. I'm like, they sound so familiar, but I couldn't tell if it was just because they were British. I'm like, somebody has to have been in Mary Poppins, and I was kind of disappointed that they were not.
That would have been what?
But that reminded me
Almost
of it.
20 years apart, though, right? Yep.
Yeah, 64
Yep.
was Mary Poppins. But yeah, during the song, we meet Bartholomew, he's had a little bit too much to drink. I love how they include this part where the song stops and he's like at the fountain of booze, and he's just oh Ratigan, and he calls him a rat. That's what stops it. And he's like, oh sir, he didn't mean it. I swear,
What did you
he
say?
didn't mean it.
He called you a mouse.
He called you you're just a very large mouse.
I called you a rat.
Yep. He's like, there's no shame in what I called you.
And that is when you get to meet what's the cat's name?
Felicia.
Felicia.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia the
Hi,
cat.
Felicia.
The big old thick cat. She's
she's a fucking
good.
chunk, dude.
She's sick, but she can book it.
And she is summoned by a little bell.
Ding,
And
ding.
yeah, poor Bartholomew, he gets gobbled up.
He's blitzed though. He has no clue what's
Pour
going
some
on.
out for the homies.
He ain't feeling anything.
I love how he's still singing the song though, as he's outside the place. And he's just sitting there. Just
No clue. No clue.
No.
And they go,
and I just love though they pick the song back up after he goes back inside.
They're like,
I love though that his friends, the other thugs, are like they're like with their hats over their heads. They're just like oh, poor
they start
guy.
panic singing because he's like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, Ratigan.
Yeah, they don't want to die. They
I love
know
that we
better.
have random lizards thrown into this crew too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I guess this lizard is taken from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
It was a lizard that shows up in that.
So there,
Let's see.
one of the other Easter eggs, Dumbo's in this movie.
Yes.
As a
Yep,
toy,
yep.
right? In the toy shop. Yep. So
I said they have to plug all their.
Yeah, but like at the time they weren't really re-releasing. I mean, they started to, but like it hadn't really gotten down to
I
re-release.
think Pinocchio was the first one they did the re-releases on.
Yeah, it was like a
Because
trial run.
Even though Snow White was technically their first film, Pinocchio was their first re-release.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This got re-released in
So
92 though, right?
Yeah, I have the DVD from I think 2007 is when the DVD came out.
There you go.
Plug it
So
again.
this one came out in.
I had the VHS, but unfortunately I don't own it anymore. I have the DVD.
This
so
isn't the 92 run, obviously, because they re-released it again. They did this when they were doing the vault, right? So this one came out of the vault at some point.
Yeah, because from what I read is that Disney actually, I think in its first run on VHS, they put the title as The Adventures of the Great Mouse Detective. And then on that copy is when they took that off and it was just called The Great Mouse Detective. So it's like this movie had like 3 or 4 different titles throughout its
The
life.
Laserdisc had the same title as well, right? Because it came out in '92 as well.
Oh,
So-
Laserdiscs.
Yeah,
Oh, good old Laserdisc.
Those are great.
those are
Yeah.
awesome. I want a laser
Yeah.
disc
Dude, I want
player.
to. So,
You always knew science class was going to be awesome when they pulled out the Laserdisc.
dude, so we have a toy store here, and somebody sold in their entire Disney Laserdisc collection, and they had them for like $10 a piece. And I was like, I wanted to buy them so bad, but I was like, they're gonna sit here. I can't watch them because if you go to eBay, the cheapest damn Laserdisc player is like $250. So it's like
It's like VHS players now. It's like, what the
Habitat
hell?
for Humanity. It's your best friend.
Steal from homeless people? Fucker can't watch it. He don't know
You got
VCR.
electricity, you can't plug it in.
That's right.
Oh no!
Well, I mean, honestly, ours came from a house that the people had like tore up and left shit there. So
We had to leave it
I don't even know if it
outside.
works. It's just a VHS DVD combo
I
upstairs.
bought mine
so-
from a yard sale. From a very
There you go.
sweet older gay man who was just trying to get rid of all of his stuff. I was like,
Best way
Oh,
to get it.
Old man, hand over the tape player. Sir, this is a yard sale. You don't have to beat me up for it.
Oh, okay. So this has a price. I thought we were here to fight for this. I had my shirt off and everything, just ready to go.
Ready to scrap, boy.
So we're back at Basil's house, and Fidget makes an appearance outside the house, and they chase him, and they are like, "Well, before we do that, we got to go get Toby." Who's Toby? So you find out Toby is Sherlock Holmes's dog, which is pretty funny.
He just absconds with somebody else's. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes' dog. He's just like, I'm taking him today. Just rinse him out.
That's so good. And I love how Toby listens to Olivia over Basil
Yeah,
Sit, Toby.
with her little sit.
So wait,
he doesn't seem to care much for Dawson.
No, he hates Dawson. Poor Dawson. Dawson did nothing
No,
wrong.
dude.
He's a cool dude.
No.
Dawson probably smells
Dawson.
bad.
Also, the fact that Basil breaks his own violin by sitting on it.
Yep.
He puts it in the chair and then sits on it. And it's like, why did you sit? Like in that moment, I was like, why did he sit down? Like, aren't they leaving?
I guess it's kind of nice to make him as a flawed character.
Oh yeah,
Not like the perfect, like always on point detective. Like I assume most people think of when they think of Sherlock Holmes.
right.
I
Yeah.
just think he hasn't hit his opium addiction yet. He'll get there though.
He's just clumsy. He can't help it.
He's over there liquefied and rat poisoned and
Yeah.
You just got to go to one of the dens, man. Chase the dragon. That's what he used to do.
Oh, I know.
I don't
They
say
pretty. I mean, that's pretty much what Robert Downey Jr.'s version of the character is. It's. They have stated that his version of the character is the closest to what Arthur Conan Doyle wrote in the books, like just his behaviors and all of that. He just doesn't wear the getup that his most
That works.
iconic, the hat and the cloak. You know, he was just a dude who was really smart.
I'm just sitting here thinking, when did he get his steampunk suit on? Like, oh, it's different. Never mind.
Like, do you remember in the first Sherlock Holmes movie where he literally puts like a drug mask on the dog and like gets the dog high and it's like dead?
Oh,
oh, the
it's been a
bulldog.
while
Yeah,
since
he's like
I've seen
sitting
that.
there.
Yeah, you killed my dog. I love that movie. Another great score. He has a piece of, I think, Fidget's clothes, right?
Yep.
The hat.
Oh yes, he drops his hat, and then he also sees the mud prints. They already know who it is, so he's like, now I know who it is. It's like, but you already knew who it was. You knew it was the bat, the peg-legged bat.
Well, he's trying to figure out where he
Whatever.
came
I
from, right?
digress.
So the whole experiment was he figured out he was salt water from a sewer, and that was the whole experiment. Yeah.
Right, which is where they figure out where he stays, right? And
Well, initially they don't do the saltwater thing. They follow him.
That's right. That's
his
right.
tracks and stuff. They
That's
follow
no,
him.
yeah, because that was
They do the saltwater thing later when they find the list.
yeah, because it's after
Oh, yeah.
Olivia
'Cause he
gets taken. Yeah.
He said he went. Starts rolling it up.
Oh
Maybe-
man! So yeah, we're at the toy store where Fidget is stealing uniforms off of toy soldiers, and this is when the gang shows up, and you gotta love that those creepy ass toys from the
Oh,
from this
God.
time period. Just horrifying. This is a horror movie walking into this, like them, especially since they're mice, so everything is a lot bigger. And this is, of course, where you get your Dumbo Easter egg in this scene, and you get the creepy ass dolls. And
I don't fuck with dolls, dude. I don't fuck with them at all. And I'm glad that my daughter does not either. She thinks they're creepy and doesn't want them. So I'm like, thank God.
There you go.
We sure did.
Mm-mm.
I love, though, from what I read.
No,
Oh,
you're
sorry,
good. I
go
was going
ahead.
to say she does Barbies, but she doesn't do baby dolls. Barbies I can handle. Barbies is in Toy Story.
So you
Yeah,
walk
she
by and the
is.
doll's head just turns and
I
follows
for
you.
that Barbie.
Oh my God, that would fuck with somebody put like a motion sensor in, like a doll, and just as they walk by, it just
I would
follows
100%
them.
do that.
That'd be
Especially
fucking
since I
great.
know
Or
it
my
was
house
me who
phone.
was doing it, so I wouldn't
Like
get
do it to
creeped
other
out about it.
people. Yeah.
Imagine though you're not controlling it that day and it still turns. You're like, okay, fuck
You're like,
you.
oh, but I thought I'd turn this, and you open it, and the batteries are out of it. and
Fucking
you're like,
Furbies, man. It just goes back to Furbies. Furbies were like,
Yes.
like people could say what they want, but I've had Furbies go off without batteries. Like, those things are
Have you
possessed.
seen Mitchell's versus the
Get
Machines?
off on their own.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so that scene is so good.
The giant Furby.
I do love. I read this, and it was something I had never paid attention to in all the times I've seen this movie. But there is the scene that Basil tells Olivia that when they get to the toy store, she has to say nothing. Like she has to keep, like she needs to be quiet, and she doesn't speak the entire time they're in the toy store. The only time she makes noise is when she turns the
How
toy
you know
on.
this isn't realistic.
Yeah, right. You told
Right.
a kid not to
told
do
us-
something, and they
You told a
listened.
7-year-old to shut up, and they're like, oh, okay.
It's just
What does that mean?
these very proper British girls. All right. Well, actually, she's Scottish.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, don't say it's the same thing. They'll get on you about that shit.
But I didn't say.
No,
that.
no, I'm just
I
telling
didn't
you.
say
Don't. No.
He corrected himself.
No, I wasn't saying. I didn't say he did. I just said just don't say it. Like it's just kind of a general thing. Get like stoned for it or something.
Yeah, she turns on the toy. It causes a lot of noise, and this is. It's like, well, they already know you're here, so I don't know why you're telling her to be quiet now. Like, the toy probably woke up everything in that place. So they find the soldiers with the missing uniforms, and there's missing gears, and that Jack in the Box sounds like Chucky. That Jack in the Box starts laughing. It straight up sounds like Chucky. I was like, holy shit! If I ran into that, I'd be shitting myself. And I love Chucky. So this is when Olivia's taken by Fidget, because she goes up and she finds the baby carriage, and she peeks inside, and Fidget's in there. Throws her in a sack, and bye. And Dawson's all sad now because he really liked her. He was cared. He
was
for her.
responsible for it because he tells that keep an eye on her, and he fucks off and leaves her alone by herself.
Yep.
But they find the list, so they got something. So they'll hopefully be able to find her pretty quickly. So Olivia and her father are reunited, but it's short-lived, as they pretty much lock her in they throw her in a bottle with no air.
I was thinking the same thing.
They throw her in the bottle and close it. You're like,
Yeah.
It's like she's dead.
Excuse? Yeah, she ain't lasting long. And also, it would have been more realistic if it just started fogging up because she's breathing in there and there's no air. Olivia, is that you?
I would.
Oh no, she
She
did.
starts drawing things.
What does
on
Mustard?
there.
Because Mustard and Clements do this again in Aladdin when they put Jasmine in a hourglass. So
Yes.
they have
Yep.
a very common thread here. They're like putting in damsels in distress in giant containers of glass.
That's where they believe women
Oh
belong.
no!
Not in the kitchen.
No,
In a glass bottle.
Well, the bottle goes in the kitchen, so I guess that's
it does.
Okay.
See? That way they're never far from the bread.
I mean, they can't be far from the stove. They got to be able to tell time.
Absolutely, it's true.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
You can't say shit. She said it, not me. So anybody listening is like, oh,
I mean, I
fixes it well.
I mean, I started it, so that's fine.
That's been the joke with me and him for how many years now?
Forever.
It's It's been over 10 years, so
Over.
that's our job.
I don't know when we started it, but
So, can you explain to me why Ratigan gets mad at Fidget for losing the list? Like, he got everything on the list,
Okay,
but he was mad that he
because
lost
I think
it.
he knows how smart Basil is,
Basil
and that
is?
Basil will put 2 and 2 together, which he does.
Yeah. But it's like Ratigan. Like, I feel like Ratigan wants that final confrontation with
Well, he
Basil.
does. He
Like,
sets it up.
he knows it's
Yeah,
going to
he sets it
happen.
up.
Yeah. Right.
He's still got to get mad at Fidget, though.
Yeah,
Well,
because
yeah,
he
but-
almost feeds him to the cat. Like, he
does.
Fidget is in the cat's mouth, and then Ratigan tells him to spit him out.
which I don't blame him because as much as he downplays, like you said, Basil, like he knows how fucking smart he really is. Because all it takes is like one little fuck up, and like Basil's gonna be right on top of him, like the list thing. So.
Yeah, when he breaks down the list to figure out where Fidget would be, or where he came from, or where he was, you know, that it shows just how smart he is. Like, he's doing all these crazy things where I'm just watching going, what the fuck does it, what does that chemical have to do with anything? How is that gonna? And then it finally comes to the point where it's like, yep, it's salt water. So that means where he was by the dock, and you're like,
The nearest pipe
okay.
is right here. So, like, also too, this is where the Ratigan shows how much Mike Moriarty is, because he's always seems to be one step ahead of Basil. So he's like, okay, I know he has my list. I can use that to my advantage and basically set up a trap for him. That's why they knew he was coming all along. So
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, and this is my bad. So the design for Ratigan, this is another behind. I keep lying about not having more behind the scenes stuff.
We're making tally marks over here.
Drink every time I forget. But the design for Ratigan is based off of one of Disney's head presidents, who was a former football player. So it was a big burly football player, like stocky guy, and so they based Ratigan's design on him, because the design of Ratigan in the books is more like you would think a brainy Weasley type of bad guy would be. So he's more thin framed and so on and so forth. So this,
he was thin and scraggly and dirty.
And this one, he's
like Pinky.
Yeah, like Pinky, just like from Pinky and Pinky in the Brain.
So they go down to the waterfront. They disguise themselves, which they just look like themselves. They just throw on different clothes. And Basil just has the thin pencil on mustache.
Fucking Dawson's got the belly shirt on.
Hell yeah, he does.
Can't even hold his pants up. Like,
and he gets lit during this scene. He gets drunk.
He gets poisoned.
And he's up on stage. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
I think it's just a roofie.
Yeah, he got roofie.
dude.
Got straight
Yeah,
roofie.
yep.
It's
He said, if
it
you
had
like
to have been.
roofie colada.
Well done, Paul.
Listen,
Well done.
This movie was supposed to be for kids, and we
No.
have a mouse burlesque show going on.
So-
Yeah, dude.
So they.
This-
Oh,
sorry.
I feel Paul's about to say exactly what I was going to say.
This
So
movie
go
might have
ahead.
credited a whole generation of furries. So, like, between this and Chippendale Rescue Rangers with Gadget, and then you had Bucky O'Hare and all this. Thank you,
Rockadoodle.
Rockadoodle. So this,
So you get-
like
Yes.
everything from this era, like you start drawing these super sexy, like animal women, and you wonder why our generation has the biggest group of furries that has ever existed.
says the guy wearing a Winnie
Hey,
the
man.
Pooh costume.
I mean,
This is
Just kidding, Paul.
this
Just
is
kidding.
love, not lust. Okay, so
Okay.
he is making me sweat because I
have no
know
idea.
how
You
hot
have no
they
idea.
can
I have. It is the fucking Everglades going on down here right now.
I just imagine there's like stock swamp sound effects, like crickets and like birds screaming is going on inside your
But-
pantaloons.
Gator mating
At this
sounds.
I'll get you, Gator Man.
He's gonna be like Basil's maid ringing out.
Oh, the Hatter.
at the end.
Just flops the Winnie the Pooh suit like over the fucking rail after this is over, and just the bottom half. Just completely
At this point, though, I got
saturated.
chips all in, so I ain't no backing out now.
Yeah.
So talking about the scene though, they actually had to like tone down the song. So they had a song, and then I think they had to change the lyrics to it to make it less seductive and sexy, because this one scene could have given this movie a PG rating, but they changed it, and they were like, well, it's a mouse, it's not a human, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm like,
So
What the fuck does
Like,
that mean?
she's like,
Because it's a
"Don't
mouse,
know."
it's
Yeah,
fine.
10-year-old me is like, tell my boner that. And I was gonna my little mousy boner.
Little red rocket.
Yes, I was about to say. Fuck.
Oh no.
You can also blame Sonic for like a whole generation.
Oh
of
yeah,
furries, too.
yeah.
Thank you, Sally.
Amy and
Thank
Amy.
you, Sonic.
Yeah, Amy, that too.
Yeah.
God.
You had to be there for Sonic CD, bro. You had to be there.
We-
It was a wild time.
if we have any furry fans that listen to the show, we love you.
Yeah.
Listen, we love you.
We
Just stay the
respect-
fuck away from me.
Look,
kidding.
I'm
Just-
not
just-
one to yuck somebody's yum. Do you do your you do
No, you do what you want.
you
You do what
you,
you gotta do.
boo-boo. So-
Yes.
Exactly.
You do you, boo boo. So yeah, so
Yuck yumming
Dawson
sounds rather appealing.
yeah, so Dawson, yes, has clearly been drugged, and he's on stage dancing around, causing a ruckus, and it causes like a whole bar fight to happen, and they're able to escape. And I, for some reason, I always thought that the singer was like becomes part of the story,
No,
but she
she
never
never-
does. She just
I
sings
know.
her song, and then that's it. That's all
So
you
I
see
had-
of her.
I thought
You're
this was
like,
like
oh,
a
yeah.
late in the game character, like team edition. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
they're probably gonna like double cross him or something.
So I
but
had
whatever.
that Mandela effect too. So like going into, because I haven't seen this movie in a couple years, and I'm like you, I went into it going, oh yeah, I forgot that's his like love interest. And I was like, wait, nope, she's just a singer. This
Nope.
like,
Yeah.
but
Just a
it's
burlesque
better.
show.
We're better off for it because not everything needs a love
Oh, yeah.
interest. So
So yeah, so this leads them after when the bar fight's going on. This kind of leads them to Ratigan's lair, which then they're Basil is just so happy about this discovery, but then he finds out that that it was all a trap because they end up finding Olivia in the bottle. They find and everything is seems to be going the right direction until Ratigan shows up and is like, yeah, this was a trap. This was on purpose. We purposely led you to this spot. And I love where it's not just what, Dan?
The whole party they throw.
You're just.
when he shows up.
I'm not laughing about that. You're just,
He's got the banner. It says "Welcome home, Basil."
I like that, but you're talking about this being a trap. Like it was a trap the whole time, and the lady singing was actually a man. Like that's the whole thing.
she's a man, man.
I was like, oh, it's a trap.
It was a
Okay,
trap.
carry on.
It's a trap.
It's a tarp.
She's like, I wanna be loved by you.
Just that really low note. Like that seems odd. Anyway, carry on.
So
Watson's like, this isn't a deal breaker yet. Keep going. He was in the military.
He said,
guys.
tell me
Calm down.
more.
I am intrigued.
yeah, I love the fact that it's not just Basil coming up with a quick solution to the trap that was, put upon him, where he literally becomes defeated. Like he knows he's done. He literally goes from like super excited to just completely just drained. They get tied up on a mousetrap. It's like this whole Rube Goldberg fucking machine going on here with all the things.
I love this scene.
It's mousetrap. It's mousetrap.
Yeah,
I love this
literally.
the explanation though. He's like, I thought for years and years and years how I would kill you and all these different devices. He goes, but I couldn't decide on one, so I'm using them all.
Yeah, it's so perfect, dude.
Oh, it's fantastic. And of course, you have Dawson who's trying to convince Basil to like, hey man, you're smart. We can figure this out, right? And he's just like, no, this is it. We're dead. I got nothing
This is
left.
the other Vincent Price song, right? When he plays the record, that's Vincent Price. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes. Which, this was just the song was only sung on the record. It wasn't. He never sings it like as the character. Which to be honest, great addition to a torture device is having your prisoner listen to a song sung by his by his
It really
worst
is
enemy.
by genius.
It's brilliant.
And then it hits that moment. It's like, girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl. You know.
I'm stuck.
So Flaversham has finished the robot. It's a replica of the Queen because it is delivered to the Queen, and I love again we get that fucking music when it pops out of the box. I love how it has the cord. I'm like, yeah, it's 1897. This shit ain't cordless, okay? It's got to be plugged into something.
I just love that too. Like the whole time, how dumb the audience is. Like at no point anyone's like, "Oi, that's not a fucking Queen."
Why does it sound like a robot?
Oh, dickhead. It's like,
you go back down to the
because
pub.
it's like,
Yeah,
the Queen,
I am naming Ratigan my
the Queen
consort.
has Tourette's. I don't understand what's going on.
Is she okay? She is shaking a lot. Is she on some-
She got
she's-
Parkinson's.
Rough.
Oh, that wasn't where I was going with that.
Rough. Well played.
No. Oh no, this is 1-star review. I can smell it. We've
I'm about to say,
offended too many
look,
people in this
I want to
episode.
appreciate you guys for having me on my one and only appearance. I'll be allowed on here.
Oh no. This just makes you want you have to come back more. This is great.
One love, everybody. We love you all.
Michael J. Fox is great.
These are jokes. Let's No, I was gonna say she's shaking so much. Some guys in the audience like, oh, what she's having.
Yeah, right. See that, or she needs a drink
yeah.
to calm her down. Maybe she's not one for speeches. I don't know.
Says it's the King's Speech. If anybody gets that obscure early British history reference / biopic.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because
stuttering.
he had
Stuttering
because he
issue.
had he had a bad stuttering problem. Yeah, and he
That
had
was
to like
Queen
overcome that.
Queen-
That was
that's right.
That was
Correct,
Elizabeth's
correct.
father, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Rush is
Yep.
in that movie.
He is. We're just tying everything together here. So yeah, Basil figures out the trap to release them all. I love how he sets everything up to the point where the axe comes down and splits the mouse trap in half. And yeah, the robot queen appoints Ratigan the consort. And yeah, again, crowd's dumb as hell. Just staring into like
It's like the crowd of Monty Python when they're trying to convince the chick is a witch.
How do you
She
know
t-
she's a witch?
Because she looks like
She turned
one.
me into a newt. I got better.
I
Like, dude-
quoted that at work the other day. It was great.
funny thing
Does
is we're
anybody-
we're gonna be covering a Monty Python movie this year, but
Is
it's
it Life
not
of
that
Brian?
one.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the funny thing is, it's like, how could I mean, I'm sure they existed in some way, shape, or form to some people, but would even a majority of people even understand the concept of a robot?
No,
It
that
was
No, probably
sometimes-
not in 1897.
It's like Clockwork People, dude. It's like that motherfucker from Return to Oz.
TikTok.
Yeah, that son of a bitch that turned into an app.
That movie
Yeah,
is
that guy.
nightmare fuel. But
It's pretty good.
Hey, we have
I
an
know you
episode
do,
on that.
'cause I
Yeah,
I
you should- we
commented
talk
on it
about it.
too. How it was nightmare fuel.
Yeah, we have a rude ass guest on that one too. Just kidding.
No, she's
No,
not.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dan. These people are not going to want to come back on the show. It's not the fact that we're not going to invite them back. It's they're not
Well,
going
they
to want to
should
come
know at
back.
this point.
No,
I
I
just
know.
So what
say
you don't know,
that.
what you don't know is I like it rough. So I'm glad I'm here with Dan.
Whoa. There you go.
Hey, you know,
He
if
likes
it
it
keeps
with
them coming.
he likes it with no lube. So this is when we get the Toby scene where he chases the cat down the street. I love what the cat thing said. She outsmarted him, and then she jumps, and it's the royal dogs, and she gets attacked. So bye, cat. Basil spoils Ratigan's plans. He it takes control of the robot, says things that it's very much like the Penguin in Batman Returns when Bruce Wayne is able to take over the recording and it says bad things and turns everybody against him. And so, yeah, this is what starts the final showdown between Ratigan and Basil as they fly off. Well, Ratigan flies off in his cool freaking
It's a blimp, right?
like hot air balloon thing or blimp. Yeah, the little blimp, and then I think Basil has they have a balloon, right? It's like a balloon with the cloth on top.
Yeah, they just recycled Ratigan's ship vessel for rescue rangers, so it's fine.
Dun, dun.
Not where I thought you were going with that.
It's not all bad.
Oh, and also I forgot to mention that Ratigan takes Olivia
Yes.
as this happens. That kind of what causes the whole chase. So they link up, they fight at Big Ben, and they fight inside the gears of the clock, which is awesome. And I know that you mentioned the fact that originally the fight was supposed to only take place on the face of the clock. I love that it's inside the clock because it's the only sounds you get are the sounds of the gears in the clock, and then you hear, like, as they're fighting, it's like the thumping of them hitting the floor or whatever. There's like no dialogue.
And
for
that
most
gear
of this.
animation is like, people just would see it as a background, but that gear animation is some of the most difficult animation in the entire film. And it looks awesome, and it adds a lot of depth to this fight aesthetically. Like, it just looks awesome rather than just being on the face of a clock the entire time.
Yeah, because this is, as you had mentioned before, Paul, is the fact that this is where we see Ratigan's transformation. And you said as a kind of, it's reminiscent to a werewolf, but it's more of the fact that throughout this movie, he always states he's not a rat, but this is where he fully turns into a rat. And the thing is, it's not his fur that kind of looks like fur, but it's his jacket that's just torn up
out.
that is giving that like fur appearance, and also
He gets
his fur is kind of
talons too. His claws grow.
So I mean, you can kind of, I guess you could kind of mix both of it, being the fact that he is transforming into a rat, but it's also in that same form as maybe he was a mouse, but now he is like the rat is his version of a werewolf, maybe. And
were-rat.
I don't know. Yeah, were-rat.
My biggest complaint with this is I've seen clock towers before in the media I've grew up with, and there ain't no motherfucker running around with a whip, and it's not filled with Medusa heads. So this is the most inaccurate clock tower I've ever seen in my entire life. Somebody's gonna get this. See, Paul gets it. Parker's like, what?
I'm confused.
Castlevania.
Oh.
The clock tower level's notorious for being filled with Medusa heads, and they knock you off the cliff, and you fucking die, or you turn to stone. Yes,
fantastic.
Good music though.
The only Medusas I ever fought in a video game was in God of War.
Yeah,
God of War series. So
the Gorgons and shit.
Yeah. So yeah, they fight, and the bell chimes, which is what causes them to fall off the clock, and of course they fall. And Ratigan falls to his death, but Basil is able to somehow procure the end of his ship and bicycle his way with the propeller at the bottom, get himself up there and survive.
I could be wrong, and I read this somewhere, but I think this is the first on-screen falling animated death. Like this first.
Since the Evil Queen.
Yeah, and Maleficent was the other one too, right? So like,
I don't think she falls.
She gets stabbed.
She gets stabbed because she's a dragon.
But yeah, so it'd been a lot, like 30 years since they had done. Oh, Evil Queen is 1937.
Was it 1939? Was when the first Disney movie?
Okay, 39. So
came
40 is Pinocchio, right? Yeah. So okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And then 41 was Fantasia. So yeah, Basil is dead.
No, Basil's alive.
Or not Basil's alive. Ratigan is dead. Basil survives. And I love the end shot though. I got a little nervous because he's flying this thing that has a very sharp propeller, and he's flying really close to a balloon. I'm like, this is just bad. Imagine he just hits it, they all just fall to their deaths. That's how the movie ends. You're like, shit, no.
And it has that happy music at the end too.
Yeah.
The theme music. Oh. And the end is everybody kind of going their own ways. Olivia and her father go off somewhere. I don't remember. I think they say where they're
I think
going.
he's
I
going to
just don't
create a
remember
toy
where.
store or something like that. Something like
But it wasn't in
No, I
London,
don't
I
think
don't
so.
think. I think they were going yeah. And Dawson's going to leave, but then Basil pretty much makes him his partner. And
when they're about to start a new case, like
yeah.
another woman walks in and they're going to start a new case.
Yep. Yeah. I would have loved to see more. I mean, this, to be honest, I would have loved to see like an animated series based on this, where every week was like a different case. It was probably, I mean, there was so many Disney animated shows that were happening, like especially in the 90s, where I was like, this would have been perfect. I would have
Oh, yeah,
watched the shit
absolutely.
out of this if it was a TV series, even if the animation wasn't as good, because it's usually how it works for the series that were based on like these
Aladdin's the
popular,
exception.
films.
The Aladdin TV series was so fucking good, and it is the only one that is not on Disney Plus.
So
Yeah.
disappointing.
I only remember one thing
So
from that
the
fucking
reason
show,
that it's
but-
not on there is because of all the fucking pop culture references that the genie makes in the TV show. They can't get the licensing to all those rights, and so they can't put it on Disney Plus. And they can't sell a DVD. There's no
Lame.
DVD of it. The only physical releases of that television show there are 9 VHS, each with 3 episodes on them, and that's not even the full series.
Oh, that's rough.
Pisses me off.
So that is so that is the end of The Great Mouse Detective. So let's go around and talk about our final thoughts on this movie. Let's start with Paul.
So yeah, I love this movie. This was one of the first 3 or 4 animated films that I fell in love with. It's because I was like 7 when it came to VHS, and my grandma would buy every Disney VHS that came out, and so it was like this, Chipmunk Adventure, and Brave Little Toaster. I wore out those 3 movies.
Yeah.
So this movie's awesome, and like I said, I definitely have an affinity for it, and more so now as an adult, because without it, we don't get a lot of classic Disney films that came after this. So this movie needs to get more respect for what it did for the company and did for our childhoods, because I think a lot of our childhoods were structured by some of these movies that came after this. So, but yeah, I love this movie. It's a classic, and it's a hidden gem for a lot of people, honestly, who haven't even seen this movie. And that's all I got to say about that.
Who wants to go next?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I love this movie. It's one of those that we were talking when we watched it. It's like, I don't remember watching this as a kid, but I know I did, because there's parts of this movie that I remember seeing that it's not something that you can just look up and be like, oh, that's part of that movie. As soon as we watched it, I'm like, I want to watch it again.
And the thing is you could, and you would still,
Yeah.
it would still be less time than most fucking movies that come out now.
Be 2.5 hours.
Yes. And the parts that the parts that I know I saw are the parts that I remember laughing at, and I still laugh at them. They're great.
I actually, this is my first time watching this movie all the
Oh,
way
wow.
through. I didn't watch it growing up. And I know it's weird. Like, I watched a shit ton of these like animated movies and stuff, like just from my parents. Like, it just popped up on here. Like, I watched the original Robin Hood, and Jungle Book, and shit like that. And I don't remember. And I know I've seen bitches of this, like bits and pieces. So I can talk. Mainly the clock tower, right? Maybe the clock tower scene. I remember being inside the clock tower, and I used to see people talk about that scene specifically a lot because of the heavy CG use at the time. But no, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. I did not even realize Vincent Price was in this at all. And of course, like most people, I love Vincent Price. And yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm glad. I mean, the length was fantastic. Like, he just knocked this sumbitch out. Look, we got done. We were trying to time it when we watched it, and like checked it, and I was like, damn, I was only an hour and 15 minutes. I got extra time. So it was nice. It was good. And outside, I mean, it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot. It had just makes me. I know this came out at the same time, but it makes me think of Fievel or The American Tale. But whenever I think of American Tale, I always think of the sequel, because that's the one I watch more. But yeah, it's good stuff. Definitely watch it if you haven't. It's totally worth it.
This is my second this is top 3 Disney animated films for me. I mean, The Lion King will always be my favorite. It's just it's always will have a special place in my heart. And this is like very close second. Like I watched this so much growing up. I probably wore the VHS out. It's so simplistic, but it's just so entertaining. I love the music. I love the voice acting, especially Vincent Price just hamming it up as Ratigan, and just the animation is just beautiful. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say other than I love this movie. I love this movie so much, and the fact that listening to, I don't remember what exact episode you mentioned it on, Paul, on your
I don't remember
show.
either. I think we were talking
But-
about Vincent Price or something like that at some point. I think with Charlie and them, and that came up, and I told them, I was like, y'all don't realize that Vincent Price is in this movie, and they're like, no fucking way. They didn't even realize it.
Right. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And as soon that was, we had this whole idea planned of doing our each for 3 months, doing each of our birth years, covering movies from those years. And as soon as you mentioned in that episode, I was like, well, I know what my 86 pick is, because I just love this movie so much. And I know there's not a lot, like going through the plot was kind of difficult for this because, like I said, it's not super intricate. There's not a lot going on with this movie. It's very from point A to point B. There's no side quests or anything. It's kind of just, it's cut and dry, but it's beautifully done. And for the hour and 14 minutes that it is, it does everything perfectly. It doesn't drag on in any place. And yeah, I love it every time. It's just such a fun movie. I probably watch this movie 2 to 3 times a year because it's just such an easy one to just throw on whenever. And having young kids, I could throw it on anytime and somebody's going to enjoy it. Usually it's just my wife.
Usually it's just
My kids are just like, I don't
usually
fucking
just
care.
me.
Poor
I'll just
Parker's
sit on the
wife.
couch like this.
Yeah. And it's always scary when we're doing episodes on movies that I like really love, like, because I'm like, I want to do it justice, and I know it's probably going to be okay, but it's like after we're done recording, I'm going to be like, could have done better. I could have mentioned this. I could have done this.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it goes. I think that's what I love about doing the show, is the fact we're just having conversation, just talking about the movie and adding, the great facts provided to us from IMDb or Wikipedia or great I mean, we actually and bringing some information from a great documentary that people need to check out called Waking Sleeping Beauty, which is on Disney Plus right now, which is a documentary that Paul actually mentioned to me, which I've had seen on Disney Plus. I just hadn't dove into it because for some reason I think it came out in like 2010, so it had been like 13 years since it came out, and so it was one of those like time, and like it's been so much time since then, and I really didn't look into what it was about fully, so it was kind of turned me off. But I'm glad that Paul told me to watch it because it definitely helped, especially between this episode and our Black Cauldron episode. All right, now we are going to our favorite segment, which is going over to social media and reading all your wonderful comments on what you thought of The Great Mouse Detective. And we are going to start over on X/Twitter. And we're going to start off with our good friend Darren from NostalgiaCast, who left us a nice excerpt from his blog, as he did for our
he would have a fucking blog.
Yeah, as he did as he did for our Black Cauldron episode. He left us his blog post on that. He left us this, so I have to read it. It's a long one, but it's a good one. So, how it holds up today. I don't have a problem with this one. To tell you the truth, it's energetic and smart. It's reasonably well plotted, and the animation is a definite improvement over The Rescuers and Fox and the Hound, despite the appropriately dreary and fog-bound London setting. Something I didn't mention, this movie takes place all at night. There's no inkling of daytime at all in this movie. I like that it plays out against an actual Sherlock Holmes adventure, and Vincent Price, Professor Ratigan, is splendidly flamboyant and scary. In retrospect, though, The Great Mouse Detective feels like a stepping stone to bigger and better things. The songs, two by Henry Mancini of Pink Panther fame, the other by Melissa Manchester, who was the woman the singing mouse, are robustly performed but don't have much of a bite, and the colors bear too many signs of desaturation and smudging when seen in close-up. It would take another 3 years for Disney to reach the meteoric heights of The Little Mermaid, also directed by Musker and Clements. Paired with The Black Cauldron, Detective caps what is possibly the most significant 1-2 punch in Disney history. An unmitigated commercial disaster followed by a sudden corrective step in the right direction. For a moment there, it seemed as if Disney animation's renaissance was actually afoot. So thank you, Darren. We always appreciate your responses to what we're watching. But we got more, which is lovely. Our next one is from Cinema Medicine Podcast at Cinema Medicine, who says, this is actually my favorite Disney animated film. I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and Basil of Baker Street is awesome. Combine that with the catchy Ratigan song, it will always be secured in that number one spot. Next one is from the Creative Control Podcast, or at CC Movie Podcast, a truly underrated and often forgotten Disney film. Professor Ratigan deserves more respect. I loved this film when I was growing up. We got one from Screen Nerds Podcast at Screen Nerds Pod, who just said another fun, underrated Disney animated film, which is, I feel a lot of people's responses is just the fact that, like, this is very much an underrated film. Not a lot of people talk about The Great Mouse Detective when they talk about Disney, like Disney greats. Like, this to me is a Disney great. It, even as simplistic as it is, it did something as Darren states in that post, the fact that it was the stepping stone to the bigger and better things, which is what people mostly remember. But it needs to be talked about.
It fits in like the level of like Jungle Book to me, like that same style, the pacing, the length of the movie, and to me it fits that way. Like the ones that the blog mentioned earlier, like Fox and the Hound and all that. A lot of that was the end of the Xerox era, which is why that animation doesn't look as good. And why this looks much better. So
we got one from this Paul guy. He just says, I'm ready for this. And I was like, no, I don't know what you're ready for, pal.
He lied. I'm just
He's like, this was quite disappointing.
He's breaking the seal. Don't do it.
Our next one is from Moments in Time and Space at Moments in TAS. Not sure why Disney ignored this film, as it was very good. It was fresh take and the performances were top notch. I don't think it gets enough love. We agree. Over on Instagram, we got one from Izzy Kicks, who just said it's so excited to listen. Hey, we hope we don't disappoint. And from Team TNA Podcast, who just said throwback in all caps. And I was like, all right, you don't need to yell.
Are we going to throw it back? Is that what they're talking about? Or the movie?
Yeah, let's all just stand up and just throw it back.
No, man, I got the cheeks to throw back, dude. I'm sorry.
Lastly, I think let me just double check threads. I think I got
go watch the YouTube video to see if I actually throw it back. You'd find out, or anybody else.
We got one from our friend Ashley from the Lullaby the Fear podcast, who just said, Toby, sit.
Yeah. We're already sitting, lady. Calm down.
and I mentioned the fact because it's, of course, that line from Olivia, and I was like, her accent is so adorable. She says, I agree. The only reason I was introduced to that movie was because my mom told me Vincent Price was in it, and I lost my childhood mind. And he just made things better. And our last one is from Contrarian Prime over on Threads, who said, caught this one in theaters as a little kid. Remember liking it, but also completely missing the point that it's a riff on Sherlock Holmes. A lot more enjoyable as an adult. So thank you to everybody who left us a comment on the movie. Make sure to follow us on all the major social media apps as we post like this. Every time we talk about the movie, we're going to be covering. So usually it's the day before our record time. Just check, follow us and turn on that bell so you get all the notifications so you can leave your comments, because we love reading them. We really do. So we thank you for that. And now let's mention what next week brings. Next week brings another guest and another fucking banger. Next week, we welcome back Joey, or the official Joey C, as we celebrate a little holiday known as St. Patrick's Day, as it is year 2 of our journey through the Leprechaun films, as we will be talking about Leprechaun 2.
I'm the Leprechaun. Quit it, Wade.
We are so excited to bring Joey back since he is our unofficial holiday guy. We just bring him on to talk about holiday movies. That's just kind of how it works. But yeah, we are excited to bring him back and talk about Leprechaun 2, because talking about Leprechaun last year was a lot of fun. So I can't wait to see how this one goes.
Yeah.
But before we get into our final rigmarole of the show, Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure.
It was an honor having you on. It was nice to not have to deal with Dustin this time. I just deal with him too much. You know, he's
So
just
you guys,
like, hey, can we work together again? Can we do stuff? No, I'm just kidding. We love Dustin here.
You have officially popped my guest cherry. So I have not been guested on anybody else's podcast. So this is the first one.
Well,
What?
So Dustin's worse than Parker.
Well, all I know, Paul, is that you stated that you are always down to talk animated movies.
Anytime.
So maybe we we'll just make you the animation guy. You know, anytime we talk about an animated movie, we'll bring you on.
All you gotta do is just let me know when and where. I will always. I beg my guys to talk about animation all the time, but Sean hates animation, and I gotta pull. That's
Sean
also
hates
true.
everything.
But I gotta pull Dustin. Dustin's more willing to do it now, but like for the most part, I usually got to twist both of their arms to do some animation. That's why they let me have an animation month last year, so I was very, very excited.
Aw.
Is it just Is it just like
No, I made him watch
Western
Princess
animation?
Mononoke last year, so I actually have a Princess Mononoke tattoo. So yeah, I love Studio Ghibli, but I love all animation, but you know, they're the only ones who really still do 2D animation in Japan and Korea, basically. So, but yeah, I made them watch that, and then rest of it, I gave them softballs after that. But
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, Paul, I know it's not your usual thing on your show, but can you tell us where we can find Flicks and Friends podcast?
If I read my little headline down here, right, you can find us. You can find us. Which, by the way, Parker had to tell me what my own handle was. So our handle is at F_F podcast, or you can literally just search for Flicks and Friends on all your podcasting ways of listening. I don't know how to word it. This isn't my steez. I just show up and talk shit and then leave usually. So but yeah, we're on Instagram, X or Twitter, or whatever the hell they call it now. I think we're on Facebook as well. I don't think we have a Threads. We're on TikTok. I know that Dustin does a lot of really fun little videos over there for our up and coming stuff. And like these guys, we post what we're about to do and all kind of, I think Dustin does giveaways and stuff. Dustin is the guy. So like, he's the dad of the group. So he dad tells us when we got to show up and do our chores. But yeah. That's all I got to say about that. So
yes, please check out the Flicks and Friends podcast. It's an amazing podcast. We've been honored to be guests. Of course, we've had Dustin on plenty of times. It's awesome to finally get Paul on the show. You guys run a really fun podcast over there. You guys, the fact that you guys literally always have differing opinions and differing minds and Sean and everybody.
Much,
yeah. It's a great time. I just listened to, as of this recording, this won't be out until for a while, but as of this recording, you guys released your Blues Brothers episode with our friend Wyatt from Cinema Trip Reviews, and great that's right, you weren't on it. Yeah, which was
I was very sick that day, so it was not happening for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's fun because your show is very similar to ours, where it's like everybody here has differing tastes for movies, and it's great to bring all those minds together and talk about a movie. So yeah, all of the links to Flicks and Friends will be down in the description. So make sure to go over and check them out. As for us, you can find us on all the major podcast apps. You're listening to us right now, so clearly you know where we're at. But we're also on YouTube. Everything is at Dissect That Film, so that's where you'll find us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're listening to us, go check out our YouTube and do the same thing. As for social media, I already mentioned it before. We're on all the major social media sites. So just go over there and type in Dissect That Film on any one of those. We're probably there. So there you go. And we're on Patreon at patreon.com/Dissect That Film, where for a single $1, you can get things like early access to episodes and bloopers and outtakes and fun stuff like that. And then at our $5 tier, we have a exclusive show called The Monster Zone, which is hosted by Dan and Angela, where we talk about monster movies, which is fun.
Yep.
And we're going to have a bunch of other fun stuff on the Patreon down the road.
You can vote for stuff too.
Oh yes, which it's new, so I'm like I keep forgetting.
At $1.
Yes, every month at the dollar tier, you can vote on the movie we cover for the end of the month. We pick like 3 selections, and you guys get to vote on what we do. So yeah, patreon.com/Dissect That Film. Help support the show financially, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shout out everybody who is currently a patron. We have a new patron. I forgot. Oh my God, we have a new patron. We have Corey Morissette, a fantastic host of a podcast called The Podcast Will Rock, which is an amazing Van Halen podcast that I have been a guest on. And he joined at the Mark Wahlberg Book Club tier, our $5 tier. So Corey, welcome to the Patreon. We hope you enjoy the Monster Zone episodes that are there. And thank you for the support. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah, you don't need to bother reading. Just click on the pictures. We know where you're at. You're good.
As for other patrons, we have Charles. We have the Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. We have Official Joey C. We have Jason. We have Robert Stewart, Rudy5453, Andrew Schoening, Eric Stein, the Barron's Hideout Podcast, Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming, Billy Joseph Jr., the Flicks and Friends Podcast, Doom Generation, and Johnny Blue. So thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. We appreciate you very much for all your support. And I think that's about it for us here. All of our personal links will be down in the description as always. And until next time, I am Professor Ratigan. Who are you guys?
Olivia.
Apparently,
Flanger Hanger.
I'm Dawson, apparently.
Yes.
Fidget.
This is the first time we've ever done an outro like that.
Wait a minute, you're not crippled.
You can't see my legs.
Oh,
that's true. He doesn't even have legs. Yes.
One
walking stick.
We are Dissect That Film, and this has been another episode of the Dissect That Film podcast. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.